If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hi everyone, this is Jen, and I want to welcome you to our brand new podcast, The Lone Lightworker. I wanted to start today's episode off by first sharing a little bit about myself, and I wanted to talk about how and why the Lone Lightworker podcast came to be. I also want to share my ultimate plan and desire for this series. I'm so grateful that you're joining me today, and I genuinely hope that this series speaks to you and that you relate to it. I would love to connect with you, and I would love any feedback that you may have. Connect with me through the Lone Lightworker group on Facebook, and you can also connect with me on Instagram at The Lone Lightworker. My name is Jen Rodriguez, and I'm an Arizona native, along with my husband of almost 19 years and our two daughters, Harley and Romy. Something I will just put out there right now in order to avoid any confusion is my husband's name is Gustavo, but anyone who knows him as Chicken. So as I'm sharing, know that I'm probably referring to my husband and not my dinner. I'm a human resource manager with a local behavioral health agency, and I've been in the behavioral health field for almost 20 years, which is pretty darn cool if you ask me. I believe I was led to the behavioral health field for a reason. Chicken and I are both in recovery, and I share this because I think it's absolutely relevant in so many ways. I'm also an empath and a light worker. As part of my journey and awakening, I've realized that I'm here to help others, and I had been exploring different ways in which I could do that. As someone who has always loved to write and talk, I decided what better way to help than to spread love and light to others, especially now. With everything going on right now, the pandemic, the tragic death of George Floyd, all of the anger and hatred running rampant, the politics, I thought now is the time, Jen. So many times throughout my life, I have had this deep desire to help, but time and again, I'd feel defeated or deflated, and I honestly just doubted myself. I had this narrative running through my head. You're only one person. What impact can one person have? What if you'll be judged? So much doubt and negativity, and I let that doubt control me for a really long time. But deep down inside, I know that all it takes is one little person, one little light to bring about big change. So I ran with it, and now here we are. It seemed to be the perfect timing in so many ways. Many of us are social distancing and quarantining at home, and I know firsthand what and how that distancing can also affect our hearts and our heads. I had the time and the passion. What better to do with both than to spread some love, right? This world of ours needs all the love and all the light that it can get right now. The Lone Lightworker is a podcast about life. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. It's about recovery. It's about spirit. It's about emotion and making mistakes. It's about paying it forward and sharing our love and our light with others. I know this may sound cliche to some people out there, but know when I say this, I mean it 100%. That I want to shine my light so bright that it helps light the way for others who are in the dark or trying to find their way. The lone light worker is here to help build meaningful connections with other beautiful and imperfect souls. The lone light worker is here to remind us of the beautiful and worthy creatures we all are. When we're putting positive energy and love out into the world, we attract the same. And the more we all shine our lights and share our love, the further we will go together. I imagine a world where there are no borders, there's no hunger, healthcare is a right and not a privilege, and we work lovingly and patiently through any conflict that does exist. A world where we respect one another and where we respect and appreciate our differences for real. The Lone Light Worker is truly about changing our world one little light at a time. Today's episode is about starting anew and recognizing that each day is a new day and a new opportunity to shine. Being in recovery, I have obviously dealt with my fair share of guilt. I have downright hated myself, not just at one point, but at multiple points in my life. And while I'm still very much a work in progress, I have come such a long way in loving and forgiving myself. And each day I remind myself that those lessons do not define me. Those lessons do not define you. Today I can reset. It's a new day to keep doing and being better. So let's think about ourselves for a minute and let's reflect on a situation that maybe we're still struggling with. Maybe we're feeling guilt. Maybe we're feeling sadness or hurt. We're probably feeling all of the above. How do we get past it? tinybuddha.com has a blog and published a short read titled Let Go of Past Mistakes, 6 Steps to Forgiving Yourself, in which they outline, you guessed it, 6 steps that each of us can take as we're healing and recovering from our struggles. Number 1 on the list is name what you have done. In summarizing the key points here for you, what it boils down to is before we can effectively forgive ourselves, we have to first identify and acknowledge what exactly it is that we've done. Tiny Buddha recommends writing down details of the incident or actions in order to drill down to the specific actions or behaviors that were the issue. We also have to try or resist trying to justify our actions or placing the blame elsewhere. How many times have you felt justified or tried to convince yourself in feeling justified with what you said or what you did because of what someone else said or did? It comes down to taking responsibility for our individual actions and behavior. And are you truly taking responsibility if you're making justifications? Number 2, ask for forgiveness. This is pretty self-explanatory overall, but they do stress the importance of being genuine and asking for forgiveness. How many of you have ever had someone apologize and it sounds like, I'm sorry, but? That but is usually a segue into justifying some or part of the behavior. Tiny Buddha recommends avoiding minimization of your part in the situation. They recommend naming the wrong that you've done and then asking for forgiveness. So it might go something like this. I hurt your feelings when I told you that I didn't care, and I apologize for that. I do care, and I want to make sure that you know that. Be specific, be genuine, and don't deflect. Number 3, forgive yourself every time negative thoughts intrude. Here, they're calling out how difficult it can sometimes be to forgive ourselves, even when others have already forgiven us. It's that situation where you've both made up, yet those little feelings of guilt still manage to creep their way in. The recommendation is to remind yourself that forgiveness is not always a one and done deal. In fact, it's often a gradual process that requires time and reminding yourself. So be patient. Number 4, show up and let yourself be seen. This one might be one of my favorites. Maybe it's because the idea comes from Brené Brown and I love her. But they touch on how those of us struggling with guilt are often tempted to check out or shut down or disengage altogether. We're afraid that even though we've made amends, truthfully inside, we're still scared that we'll be judged all over again. But by showing up, despite the shame we may still be feeling, we're actually building courage. And the more we do it, the more we will become comfortable with doing it again. This is probably one of the biggest ones for me. I have a tendency to want to pull away and disengage, especially when I have any type of guilt that I'm dealing with. So I need to keep showing up, even when it's hard. And that's a good reminder for all of us. Number 5, be grateful for your mistakes. This is good too. Who am I kidding? I love them all, but think about it. Appreciating and being grateful for the lessons we've learned through those mistakes. That's priceless. It's about perspective and really identifying how that mistake helped us. For a long time, I was devastated about losing our home. I had so many feelings and emotions about that. I was obviously sad. I was extremely embarrassed and ashamed. I allowed and listened to my negative self-talk, believing it was accurate and that I was a loser. But after years of being hit smack dab in the face with those feelings of shame, I realized that first and foremost, none of those things were true about me. I am not a loser. Sure, I sometimes lose and I will lose again, but that doesn't make me a loser. As I was able to turn the page, I realized that it had happened for a reason. And now, years later, I'm grateful that we did lose the house. I know that sounds funny, but I mean it. Because of how things played out, other opportunities presented themselves. Opportunities that wouldn't have been possible at that point had it not been for losing our home. Bottom line is, there's a reason, and while we often do not allow ourselves to see it in the moment, we usually see it eventually. And we can all practice having more gratitude for those mistakes that we once thought were devastating. Number 6, radically love all of who you are. Yes, this fits right in there with the others. Love all of you, including the mistakes, because those mistakes play a large part in who you are today. Those mistakes may not have been pretty at the time, but the growth and the positive change that resulted from it is priceless. Embrace all of it and love all of it. They end the article with a reminder that we are worthy of forgiveness and we are absolutely worthy of our own love as well. Through practicing these steps every day, forgiveness and moving forward will become that much easier each and every time. Life is about experiences. Life is about experiencing and learning and growing. And we are not expected to have it all figured out. Even now at 42, I often do something or say something or act in a way that I realize through experience, I realize that it's not the way I want to do it or the way that I want to be. So I change it and I do better. Today I did better than yesterday, and tomorrow I will be better than today. So I hit the reset button and I do new, I do different, and I do better. And I experience and learn and grow from all of it. Today is a new day, and I encourage and invite you to hit that reset button. Shoot, even if you have to do it by the minute. But hit that reset and let it go and just live and experience and love yourself and each other along the way. Buddha summed it up perfectly. Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. What happened yesterday, it doesn't matter. We learn and we grow and we do better today. with that, I thank you guys so much for listening, and I look forward to meeting you back here next week for an all-new episode of The Lone Light Worker, where we'll be exploring, moving on, making peace, and letting go. Connect with me and invite others to connect with us all. Until then, keep shining your light and keep spreading the